Maybe it's because we don't get enough genuine family films anymore, but Richie Rich from 1994 ages phenomenally well. It's always great when you revisit something from your childhood to find it still holds up, and I'll tell you what, when we say eat the rich, we don't mean the rich family. And I hear the great disturbance amongst my audience right now as millions of voices cry out in terror, or at least, leftist frustration, but you must now be suddenly silenced. Because the rich family is a little woke, at least with their up-down politics. You see, you might not remember this, but the plot of Richie Rich from 1994 hinges around a conspiracy to murder the rich family. And seemingly, the straw that broke the camel's back for the antagonist is the moment that John Larroquette, one of Richard Rich Sr.'s employees, witnessed Richard Rich Sr. wanting to give the means of production back to the people. That's right, the whole story of the movie kicks off with Rich Industries, the Rich Family Corporation, acquiring another small company called United Tool. And in one of the next scenes, Richard Rich Sr. reveals to the film's antagonist, one of his employees, that his plan is to give the company to its workers. And he's delighted by it, and so is his wife, because as we learn throughout the events of the movie, they don't care about money, they care about loving their family. Because it's fiction and based on a comic book, and you shouldn't overthink it. But the movie is really funny, breezily paced, and filled with hilariously handled product placement, with a hilarious cast, including obviously Macaulay Culkin, but also John Larroquette, Michael McShane, Christine Abersole, and of course, Richard Gilmore himself and Max from The Lost Boys, Edward Herrmann, and a character actor who can be found all over the 90s movies I grew up with, Jonathan Hyde, who was also in The Mummy, Jumanji, and Titanic, and he is so funny and so well cast in this movie that I honestly don't understand why he wasn't in even more comedic roles. Or maybe he was, and I just haven't seen him yet, so if you've got recommendations, drop them for me, please. I imagine people were harsher on this movie when it came out because we were in the midst of such a renaissance of family films. I mean, it was an embarrassment of riches. But it was directed by the same director who did Grumpy Old Men, Mystic Pizza, Miss Congeniality, and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and I think the humor lands shockingly well. I find it really interesting that 30 years later, we haven't seen a huge push for these Harvey Comics properties like Casper and Richie Rich to be readapted into live action, but if they did it today, I wonder if it would strike the same balance of heart, humor, and wish fulfillment fantasy that this one lands. Perfect movie? No. Family film that holds up remarkably well? Hell yeah.